the question you're asking is what does really Rocket League associate to in terms of esports? Right now, I would say we have definitely not reached the level that League of Legends and Dota 2 have hit. I don't think we should be comparing ourselves to them. I think we are definitely growing in a really good pace right now. But what I'm seeing is we're growing really well, but I feel like I don't know if this is a good way to put this, but it's like as if we're climbing up a mountain right now. But this mountain, it turns out when you get to the top, that it's actually just a cliff, and this whole other side doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
So you end up just falling straight down. So I feel like that there's gonna have to be this backbone that needs to start getting implemented into the Rocket League scene. And I know we're gonna talk a little bit about that with like coaches and managers and stuff later on too. So I think right now, if I really had to compare this to an industry right now, most people that I talk to, I would almost say it would be like as if Nintendo actually supported Super Smash Bros.
My boy. Okay. So this is perfect because
That's great.
on this show, consistently, I always make Smash references to Rocket League.
All right.
And
He does.
it's kind of funny how Rocket League the game and Rocket League the community relate to Smash Bros the game and Smash Bros the community. Very, very grassroots based, very, very mechanically heavy, learning curve, not the easiest learning curve, but fun at all levels. Smash is still fun at the very base of its gameplay. So is Rocket League, and then as you move up, it continues to stay fun, and that mechanical curve is very similar. Obviously, they're two completely different genres of games, so the comparisons kind of end there as far as the gameplay goes. But the community aspect, all of these community orgs that sprouted up around this game, Psyonix wasn't prepared for it. Psyonix didn't make Rocket League with esports in mind. They made Rocket League as a successor to
You can do it. This one's hard to say.
Yeah, super acrobatic battle.
You know what? Because you can't say Sphyrnidae, I'll say it's supersonic acrobatic rocket power battle cars because I can.
I'll be honest. I actually couldn't remember like the order of the words it was in. So whatever. Yeah. But like they just wanted to make a better version of their first game, and they did. And then it went free on the PlayStation Plus store, and it blew up, and nobody could have guessed that. They didn't have any of this in mind. So, it's the same thing with Smash Bros. And Nintendo in that sense, where the creator of Smash Bros. Made Smash Bros. As a party game, did not intend for it to be competitive, and was strictly against it being competitive. Let's be really thankful that Psyonix is not that way. But the grassroots community and the love for the game and the love for the community is so reminiscent of Smash Bros. I always say the only thing that makes the Smash Bros. Community better is the fact that everybody has to be in the same place in order for that community to work. But Rocket League is 1B in that sense. If Rocket League had to play together, like if you had to go around and, to your friends' houses and hook up your PS4s and play, then this community would probably be as good as Smash Bros. In my opinion. But Smash Bros. Will always be number one in my mind because of that. And I have always related it to this. And we had League Ep.6 on this show for the second episode of this podcast. And we had a lot of Leaf came from Smash Bros. So he makes a lot of Smash references himself. And he sees a lot of the similarities too. So we were kind of geeking out about that together. And it was really fun. I just don't see any other, a grassroots esports effort like I have with these two games.
One thing that we need to realize though is I love the way that Psyonix actually took this approach, because they were a company that they weren't making a ton of money. They were a regular game development party. I'm sorry, I'm not thinking of the terminology for their company at this moment, but Psyonix Studios was just one of the regular guys. They were just doing some background modding, some underground work at that point. I love the story, by the way, of the documentary. I'm referencing that right now. And then just to go into Rocket League, where it just kind of blew up.
Can you imagine if Rocket League had that kind of
started streaming it, and he kept getting hundreds of viewers, and as it just kept blowing up in popularity, then they realized, as soon as community organizations came in, so like Rocket League Central primarily with RLCPL, after that avenue, that was like a light switch. It was like, aha, I just realized that we have a serious opportunity to now turn this into competitive esports. So now you have the original casual group that you had before, but now you move into esports. That was the avenue, and I believe they took that correctly, because if they went and walked right away into Rocket League being like, this is an esport right off the bat, they wouldn't have been able to support it because they didn't have the money for it. But as soon as, well, what is it, 19 million players now? I think they can support a little bit of Rocket League Championship Series in their life.
Rocket League's growth in general is kind of unheard of. Sans, I think the closest like blow up in popularity you can say similar to a game from an indie dev that came out of nowhere that had little to no backing from any kind of publisher is Minecraft. As far as just in terms of a game coming out of nowhere and just blowing up because of the game itself. Because Rocket League there's not another game like this. There's not. This is a unique genre. And I haven't seen, you see clones. Clones are not the same as a new addition to a genre. Clones are clones. And new additions to a genre would be like Paladins versus Overwatch. Like those are two different games in the same genre. Whereas you see like all of these like knockoffs come in and you can obviously tell it's a knockoff Rocket League. There is not another game like this. And because of that, I think that is one of the reasons that helped it just kind of blow up. It's just kind of insane to me, where this game came from, which was nothing, and then it had a very small dedicated player base from the first game, and it just blew up into popularity out of absolutely nowhere. So I think it just needed the spotlight, honestly. And I'll always come back to the Smash Bros references. Smash Bros now with the support of Nintendo pushing Smash 4 and Melee a little bit harder. The grassroots community is still doing way more than Nintendo ever could, and look how they're doing. Smash Bros is they're working their way to try to be a tier 1 esport. If they're not, if people don't, I think the way they generate the tiers is by revenue, right? The way the tiers work is how much revenue they.
I'll be honest with you, I like to define success not just as like I made the most money. I like to define success as I'm saying the better community, who has the better outreach, like who's out here getting the legitimate corporate sponsorship from like a AAA company.
No, I agree with you.
Who's out here really contributing to it? Sorry to cut you off.
No, yeah, you're fine. No, I didn't mean to cut you off either. It's just I agree, but just to clarify, when I use the definitions of tiers, when other people in esports reference the tiers, they're referencing that model. I can't pull up the link right now, but it's not.
Anyway, you're stealing my thunder from my podcast, and we're talking about different esports here. So I think
you can talk about it too. It doesn't matter. We talk about the same shit literally every single week on the show.
My stuff on my podcast. You keep stuff on your podcast.
All right. I'll guest show up on your podcast, and we can talk about it. And then I won't be stealing because I'll be talking about